boys speak later than girls. Is that a myth or is there actually some truth to it? Elders starting to share their experiences that my child was a late talker. He didn't talk until he was 4 years old, but look at him now, he's so good. And then they try to console the parents like that it's okay if your child is a late talker. There is nothing you have to do about it.
You just waited for your child to grow out of it. But what has happened is your child has lost those early learning critical years.
Is speaking multiple language in the house going to cause speech delays in children because of confusion?
If that was the case, then the entire India would be speech delayed, right?
One thing that I've seen parents do is that they do a lot of baby talk. They're like, you bobo, you won't go to it. Would you recommend that?
The earlier you expose to screen time, the higher the screen time your child is going to have a delay. There's no doubt about that.
Can you describe for us what exactly is speech therapy and how does it help late talkers?
So, speech therapy is a therapy designed to
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Modern Indian Parent Podcast, the podcast that is redefining parenting in Indian families. I am Rini Gupta, the co-host of this show, and we bring new episodes every Friday to YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So be sure to follow or subscribe on the channel of your choice. If you are new to this podcast, I just want to give you a warm welcome to this little corner of the internet where we offer judgment-free expert advice on a huge variety of topics to make your parenting journey a little easier. Today's episode is all about speech development and delays. If you are a parent who is worried that their child is not communicating well enough for their age, or maybe you want to learn how to enable your child to speak well from an early age, then you will love this episode. Our guest today is Bisma Shaikh, who is popularly known as the Speaking Mummy on Instagram. She is a speech language pathologist with a master's degree in audiology and speech language pathology, and she has more than 14 years of experience under her belt. She is also the founder of The Speaking Mummy, a service that provides parents whose children have speech delays due to any reason, including being on the autism spectrum. She has also used her expertise to create a line of speech development aids under her brand, the First Words products. And she will be here to answer so many questions that parents have about speech development and delays. She'll be telling us, how do you even know if your child's language development is on track or delayed? What should you do about it? Do educational shows accelerate or decelerate speech development? What and how do we teach babies to communicate from an early age? And lastly, we will also discuss what exactly is speech therapy, which is meant to help late talkers and children who are on the autism spectrum. So if you are interested in any of the topics that I just mentioned, then stay with us till the end and learn so much about your child's language and speech development so that you can enable them to be great communicators. So let's welcome in Bisma Shaikh. Hi Bisma, welcome to the Modern Indian Parent Podcast. How are you doing today?
Hey, thank you for having me today, and I'm very well, thank you. I hope you're having a good day today as well.
Yes, very much so. Even more so because I'm getting to talk to you. You are the first speech therapist that we have invited onto the podcast. And it's the first time that we are tackling the whole issue of speech development, speech delays. But this is something that parents are always wondering about. They have so many questions about. I started following you more than a year ago and I saw your content and I just saw the impact that you're making. And when we started this podcast, I was like, okay, I have to get Bisma onto this show to, we want to talk about myths about development. We want to talk about how we can really help these kids and where they can support if they are facing issues, right? So we're going to talk all about that today. Let's start with a very basic level 1 question. The first thing I would like to understand from you is, how will a parent judge whether their child's language development is delayed or on track? What kind of milestones will they be looking for?
So, I will take you through a few developmental milestones, age-wise, like briefly, that parents can look forward to. For example, if the child is 1 year old, then the child is not babbling or not engaging in to and fro interaction. There is, less response to their name, inconsistent eye contact, lack of language comprehension skills as well. For example, if the child is not understanding simple commands like come here, give it to me, bring your ball, okay, then that would signal to us that the child is probably having some sort of delay. the child might have delay in the future. So this is as early as 1 year old, we can figure it out. So the next age that I often ask parents to look for is the 18-month milestone, right? Because by the time the child is 18 months, they are speaking a lot more meaningful words, 10 to 12 meaningful words in their expressive vocabulary. Okay, their language comprehension is a lot better, like even in terms of understanding simple instructions or understanding simple questions, like where is this, who has come, where are you? So questions like these, the child will show understanding of, and the child has started showing interest in playing games, like playing games as in pretend play. Simple pretend play starts to develop there by this age. So that is an important milestone that we need to, look for. Coming to 2 years of age, by the time the child is two, the child's ability to imitate speech has improved a lot. So you can see that the child is, between the 18 to 24-month mark, the child is easily able to imitate a lot of words that you say. That's why we should be very careful of what we are saying, because the children immediately pick up and mimic whatever you're trying to say. And the child has also started forming short phrases for communication, like two word phrases they have started forming for communication. They are answering questions meaningfully now because their expressive vocabulary has developed. Okay, so these are the things that we will see at 2 years of age. So, to begin with, these are the three milestones that we should be really aware of. And I think right now, at this stage, a lot of parents can identify delays pretty early on. Like we are getting children coming to us, as early as 2 years of age, as early as 18 months of age as well.
Absolutely. So you're saying at 18 months of age, just about what, 10, 12 words? Would
10 to 12 meaningful words minimum.
minimum. All right. And would mama, papa, dudu, would these count as meaningful words as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. These are functional words, right? These are the words that the child needs to establish communication with their parents, okay, to express their needs, to express their, discomfort or their basic necessities. So they are definitely counted as meaningful words.
All right. So as long as they're able to identify, let's say, their main caregivers, some of the other words that they have, then they're able to communicate that. But 10 to 12 words at around 18 months and about 2 years of age, how many words and phrases are we expecting them to say?
So at 2 years of age, we are not having, a set of fixed number of words or phrases as such. That will really vary from each child, but I would say a minimum of at least 80 to 100 words at 2 years of age. Okay, so there is
Okay,
a
that
vast increase in the expressive vocabulary, and
yes.
that is why that period between 18 months to 24 months becomes extremely important for a child's speech and language development.
Absolutely. And so basically, if a 2 year old is still rather silent, is not saying a lot of words, not doing a lot of that
Yes,
serve and return communication, so that's
absolutely.
how you know it's a kind of like it could be leading towards language delay.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. So I think that's a very good understanding for parents to have because the earlier we catch it, the earlier we can start solving the problem before it becomes too big,
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely.
So,
Because just
yes,
one thing I would like to highlight is by the time the child is three, it becomes more, evidently clear that the child is having a delay. Because then parents are easily able to see that, the child is not communicating using a lot of words or is dependent only on gestures for communication. So the earlier we identify it, the better.
absolutely. But I think the problem with in a lot of Indian families that I've seen is that if a child does have speech delay, and even if the parents are sort of concerned about it, the people around them just like it's okay, kuch nahi hota. All kids will speak eventually, right? So this really leads me to think about it. There are a lot of myths about speech development and speech delays that are pervasive in the Indian families, which is, I think, stopping people from getting the help that they need. So I'm going to take you through some of these myths that I have heard. All right. And
Sure, sure.
then you can tell me whether or not they are true, they are false, or, what should we think about them? So the first myth I've heard is that boys speak later than girls. Boys are late talkers. Is that a myth or is there actually some truth to it?
So that is definitely a myth. If you consider that boys are late talkers, so suppose, the first word which is supposed to occur, between 12 to 18 months of age. So a girl is saying the word at 12 months. A boy is probably saying the word at 14 months or 15 months, which is typically within the range of development. We cannot say that a girl will start talking at 1 year of age, and for the boy, we can wait till 2 or 3 years of age. So even if there is, a delay between boys and girls, that delay is very much within the developmental range. It doesn't go beyond that. And again, it's something which is very variable, highly variable. There are boys who, talk really early and who talk a lot. There are girls who don't talk that much. So there is a lot of variability there as well. So we cannot, take this as a fact that boys are late talkers compared to girls. So it's definitely a big myth to be busted.
One more thing that I have heard is if a child is a late talker, there is nothing you can do about it. You just have to let them take their time because eventually they are all okay. And this is where I see elders starting to share their experiences that, like, my child was a late talker. He didn't talk until he was 4 years old, but look at him now. He's so good. Everything is fine, right? It had no impact on him. And then they try to console the parents like that it's okay if your child is a late talker. There is nothing you have to do about it. Is this the right thing to say, or is it a myth?
So what I would like to say is, during our times when we were small or during our grandparents' time, we did not have a lot of options for therapy, or speech and language therapy is still very new to parents. A lot of people are not even aware of, this field and what actually speech and language therapists do. So at that time, like, 30, 40 years ago, I'm sure nobody would have heard of, and nobody would have known of such a treatment being possible. So they let the children be. But right now, we do know that the therapy is available. Okay, the treatment options are available. So definitely we have to take advantage of that. The other thing is that if we just let them be, we don't do any kind of intervention. There might be a small fraction out of those who would, recover on their own, or who would just, grasp language on their own later on. But there is a large percentage of these children who would still struggle. Okay, so the kind of support that you could have provided to your child at 2 years of age, you are providing now the same support at 5 years of age, okay, because you just waited for your child to grow out of it. But what has happened is your child has lost those early learning critical years, which would have helped them narrow the gap between their language age and chronological age. So when the child is 5, he's still having that age gap of 3 years. Okay, that 3 years of delay to cover at 5 years of age. And then to cover up that amount of delay at 5 years of age becomes very difficult. And it takes a lot of time. Now, if the same parent had come to me at 2 years of age and the delay was, say, suppose of 6 to 8 months, it would have been easier for us to cover that delay, right? So that is why early intervention becomes important and necessary over here, and not just the wait and see approach.
Yeah, I think somewhere I can understand where they're coming from, that maybe as adults they will all catch up. But you are
Yeah,
totally
yeah,
ignoring and you are almost dismissing the fact that even children need vocabulary. I sometimes I
absolutely.
think there are so many feelings that they're going through. So my child is extremely talkative. And I think somewhere I see her and I see the range of emotions and everything she's expressing. And somewhere I feel that she's not the only one who's feeling it. Every child is feeling it, but some children have very limited vocabulary to express this emotion, and how frustrated they must be feeling inside. That I want to say this, I want to express my joy or I want to express my anger, but I don't have the words for it. So I think maybe, yes, 20 years later it may all equalize, but why should we not pay attention to those first 5 to 10 years and give them the help that they need?
And 20 years later, it may all equalize. We are just making a blank prediction over there. It may not equalize for everyone. So then we really need to see what we can do to help our child right now. And therapy is not something that is based on medicines, or we are not providing any medicines to the child. We are just assessing the child, trying to understand why the delay is happening, why the child is not able to move forward. And then we are equipping the parents with the appropriate strategies that they can apply in their home environment to use with the child, right? It has no side effects. So if you are going to apply the strategies at 5 years of age, why not apply it earlier and help your child, progress?
But
So
do
it's
people
as
come
simple
to you
as that.
asking for medicine?
Yes, definitely. Okay.
Resolve speech delay?
So is there some pill that can make my child talk? They, because they want quick results. They want something to, like, overnight, like give me a course of 5 days of medicines and my child will start talking. But that does not happen.
One more myth that I want to ask you about, and this is again because my family is quadrilingual. So we speak
Okay.
English, we speak
Yeah.
Hindi, my husband speaks Gujarati and Marathi, and now we have a fifth language in the mix, which is Chinese, because I live in Singapore and my daughter is now learning Chinese. So there are five languages being spoken in our house. And one thing that I hear from other parents is that don't try to teach them too many languages at once because it's going to cause speech delay, because children If you speak too many languages at home, especially in bilingual, trilingual, which is the case in most Indian households, most of us are bilingual and trilingual. So, is speaking multiple language in the house going to cause speech delays in children because of confusion? Myth or fact?
I think if that was the case, then the entire India would be speech delayed, right?
It is so on point.
That is definitely a very big myth, and multilingualism is definitely not a cause of speech delay. Okay, if at all you are speaking multiple languages in the home and your child is having a speech delay, you need to understand that there is another cause to why your child is having a delay, and multilingualism is definitely not one of those. In fact, children are very well equipped to learn multiple languages right from birth. So that is definitely
Very
not going to
reassuring
cause
for
any
me.
sort of delay. Yeah, I'm saying this not only for neurotypical children, but even children with developmental delays or late talkers or other form of disabilities like autism. Even those children are able to learn and grasp multiple languages. So it applies to everyone, not just to neurotypical children.
That is very good to know, because there's a speech delay. There might be an underlying reason for it. There could be, maybe they're on the spectrum, or there are some issues that we have in terms of how we're
Sure.
communicating with the child. But what we do is that we just attribute it to be like, no, no, no. There are too many languages being spoken. That's why the child is
Yeah,
confused, and that's why it is delayed. So you never
yeah,
actually get to the root cause because you dismiss the language delay because of all these myths. So thank you so much for
absolutely.
clarifying this with us. But my next question for you is, and I think this question is going to pinch the people who are listening to this episode, is that what do you think are the key mistakes that parents are making that could be leading to this delay in language development? Where are they going wrong?
So I think the most common thing or the most prevalent thing that you can see right now is exposure to early and excessive screen time. Okay, the earlier you expose to screen time, the higher the screen time is in terms of the number of hours in a day, your child is going to have a delay. Okay, there's no doubt about that. Because we were seeing these cases pre-pandemic also, but post-pandemic, the number of cases have gone on, increase exponentially. Like there are too many cases of children coming with a diagnosis of a delay after excessive and early exposure to screen time. Like I have seen children who have been exposed to screen as early as 3 months of age. As early as 3 months. Can you imagine how much impact that would have on a child's developing, their ability to focus, their ability to sustain attention, their ability to understand language, to engage in a to and fro interaction? All of these abilities are getting affected because of screen time. And because of that, the child is having a considerable amount of delay, not just in their speech and language skills, but even in terms of their attention, cognitive skills, fine motor skills, because the child is not playing. The child is in front of screen. The child is not exploring the environment. So cognition is also getting delayed and affected over here, right? So that is one of the most common reason that we are seeing right now. Okay, the second thing is, our busy lifestyle. Nowadays, even in India, we see there are a lot of nuclear families. Both the parents are working. The child is either in a daycare or there is a nanny there. But in the process, what we are doing is we are not communicating enough with our children. Okay, we are not talking enough to our children. So the language stimulation that the child should get in those early years is getting affected. And that is also one of the reasons for delays. Okay, so these are the, two prominent reasons that I have seen in today's time that are contributing to speech and language delays. Definitely, there are other causes like, hearing loss or developmental delays, global delays. So these are the other causes which obviously no parent has control over. We are not going to blame parents over there.
Absolutely. I think thank you for pointing these out. This is a hard pill to swallow for a lot of parents. And I completely agree that this is something that, like, if we don't know where we're going wrong, how are we even going to correct that? Because I'll tell you, when it
Absolutely.
comes to screen time, right, most parents are introducing screen time with the right intention. Why? Because they know, oh, music is good for development of the child. So then they're putting on nursery rhymes. You won't believe, when I started potty training my child, my first attempt to potty train her was at 6 months of age. And my mom said that, like, hey, I heard from this friend and who potty trained their baby, and then there's this Coco Melon potty training song that you can play on
Hmm.
the screen, and you can make your child watch it while they sit on the potty, and that's how they can learn how to do potty. First I was like, this doesn't make sense. Sure, when I was putting it on the screen and she was sitting and we were singing that song along, sure, she was glued to the screen so she could sit on that plastic potty for a while. But after like 2 days of doing this, I'm like, this seems wrong. There is no way that a 6 month old can understand a song, comprehend it, and then
Absolutely.
understand that there is a skill that they need to pick up by looking at a screen. That makes no
Absolutely.
sense. I think the other thing is that parents are then also using screens as teaching devices. So, especially for older babies, they are like, because I want to teach my child something so that they can talk, they are showing screens. Without knowing, it's having the opposite effect. Let's say if they want the child to learn how to, I don't know, say mama, do, then they are showing videos of these people who are saying mama, mama. And I have done it. Believe me, because I was told to do this. And I think the other thing is when it comes to busy parents, again, I am guilty of it as charged. When we get busy, you know what we do to replace that? We get tons and tons of toys for our kid. And we get this toy and that toy and this piano and this musical book, and we are just filling up our
Amazon
home
must
with
have.
toys. Amazon must has those gift shopping lists that we are all following, and because of influencers, we are getting them into our house, hoping that, when my child is engaging with this toy, they will start learning how to speak. But let's be real, that Fisher Price or that Learn and Play ABCD book, that's not going to teach your child how to talk. No matter how good it looks,
Absolutely.
it's only a tool. Unless you sit and communicate with them, that book is not going to do anything.
Definitely. What I tell parents is, they often ask me, what is the activity that I should do, or what is that toy I should use to, make my child talk. So I tell parents, you are the best toy that can help your child learn to talk. You have to use yourself. You have to give time to your child, because until and unless you are not giving that time to your child is not going to be able to pick up language which is needed for communication. So that is definitely needed.
Absolutely. But like, what would you say to parents who say ki, I don't agree that screen time causes speech delay. Look at my child; he can sing the whole ABCD song. They know all the colors. They know all the shapes. Look at how smart he is. Only 14 months old and singing all of those nursery rhymes. Baba Black Sheep. So screen time is good. It got
So
my child to talk.
So I tell parents that, I have this example for you. You are stuck on a highway and your car is punctured and you need help. You desperately need help, but you are not able to talk, or you are not able to communicate. There are only a few words that you can send, or you can, ask for help using only 3 to 4 words. Now, which word is going to get you help faster? Will you get help faster when you say black circle, or will you get help faster when you say stuck, need help? Which are the words that are going to help you, right? So, stuck, need help are functional words that even your child will need for communication. Whereas black circle are academic words, right? Which your child is learning from the, TV, and which you are very proud of. Like, my child knows colors, shapes, alphabets, numbers. But these words are not going to help your child communicate their basic needs. Okay, so if you really want your child to communicate with you, you need to teach them words that are going to help them communicate their basic needs effectively. Are going to help your child communicate on how to ask for help, how to express their feelings, how to express their discomfort, how to express their joy. So if you really want your child to communicate, you need to teach them functional words and not academic words that they are learning from screen.
Wow, that is again, I think this should have been a part of the myths, because a lot of people, the first few words that they're trying to teach is, the colors, shapes, names of
Yeah,
fruits,
yeah.
vegetables, animals. That's what we are focusing on. Again, I did the same thing because I thought that is what I need to teach my child. But it makes so much more sense that you need to focus on the functional words. You know what I was thinking? You were giving the example of the highway. I was thinking, yeah, I would need to know stuck need help instead of singing Baba Black Sheep.
So, absolutely, and many parents don't know that these are the words that we need to teach. I think it is also happening because of a lot of marketing where we are focusing on accelerating the brain development or making a child, geniuses, Einstein and whatnot. I keep seeing these marketing ads where they are, boost your child's brain development. But if a person has really studied brain development, they will know that there are certain milestones for skills, and these skills will be achieved within those developmental range. The development is happening in this way because of a reason, right? You cannot expect your 1 year old to say ABC. It's not developmentally appropriate. The child will learn ABC when they are probably 2.5 plus or 3 plus, whenever they get that exposure, and that time it will be more meaningful for them. It will be more purposeful for them. Learning ABC at 1 year of age serves no purpose.
Exactly, exactly. It's just words, it's just a song. It has no reason for them to occupy that brain space per se at that point.
Exactly. Like unnecessarily, we are cluttering a child's brain with, excess information.
But like, how would you go about teaching this functional vocabulary? Pain or do or I want food or expressing what they want. How do you go about even doing that?
So, by modeling, modeling is a very strong strategy that I recommend all parents to start doing with their child, start using with their child. Like my baby, she is now 20 months old. So she does a lot of communication through words as well as gestures. Okay, these are both the things that she's using for communication. And we have been modeling words as well as gestures to her from the very beginning. Like whenever you're hungry, you want to do, you want to drink do, let's drink do. Okay, your hands are dirty, let's wash hands. We are going to wash hands. Okay, you are done. You are done eating. You're full. It's done. So now, whenever she's done eating, she doesn't know to say all done. Okay, but she'll say like this, and then she'll signal me to wash her hands. Okay, so this is how she is communicating with me because this is how I have been communicating with her. I have been showing her what are the words needed for communication. So when your children are hearing you use these words in meaningful situations, they are able to then build those associations. That okay, whenever I get a box or a bottle to my mother, okay, and I do this action, she says kholo, kholo. Okay, so whenever I am supposed to, tell her to open the box or open something, I have to use the word kholo. So kholo is actually the first, functional verb that she started using because opening containers was one of her favorite, playthings. So she would get a bottle to me, get a box to me, get my purse, get a book, and say kholo, kholo. Okay, so modeling is a very strong strategy that we can use, and it can be easily, adaptable in any situation. Again, one thing that you need to give is time and attention so that you can teach this to your child. So, most of the times, parents who come to me for consultation, I often ask them that when your child needs something, how are they communicating? What are they saying? Suppose they want water, so how are they communicating for that? So they will say, my child gets a bottle to me and then gives it to me when they want water. I was like, then what do you do? I open the bottle and give it to my child. I was like, do you talk? Do you communicate? Do you build an interaction when you're doing that? They're like, no, I just open the bottle and I give it to my child. Then how is the child going to learn words?
Very
Until and
non-verbal.
unless you don't speak with your child, you don't show them how words are supposed to be used, when are they supposed to be used, your child is not going to pick up words. So this is, one important modification that I bring in a parent and child's interaction that can help them learn.
Absolutely. So it's basically you are basically describing their day to them. Whatever action you do, you use some words to describe it. I remember my daughter's first functional word was Odi. Odi means Godi. Take me Godi. Like I've got a little koala bear. She liked being carried all day long. And I think like the first phrase I think she put together was Mama Odi. And I was like, wow, that is a pretty good way of getting your need met.
Yeah,
Otherwise, she would just cry
absolutely.
and cry. So, Bisma, one thing I'm very fascinated by what you described is that your child is using signs to tell you things that she doesn't quite have the words for right now. Like you said, she does the,
Yeah.
flipping of hands back and forth to say all done. And baby signs are something that I have rarely seen parents teach their kids from an early age. But as a speech therapist, would you recommend that parents teach baby signs to their children from an early age?
I think definitely yes. Okay, because a child wants to communicate a lot. Their cognitive abilities are good enough to be able to communicate a lot of things with us. But then the speech and language development, okay, is not following the same path as the cognitive development. So gestures provide a meaningful way through which the children can communicate with us. So again, there is one more myth that if your child is using gestures, then your child will not use words. But that is definitely a myth. Use of gestures is developmentally appropriate and can actually help your child learn words for communication, right? So I definitely recommend, using and teaching gestures to your child for communication.
So, what are the top five gestures that you can tell us and show us actually, which you think that parents should start teaching their babies from an early age?
So definitely waving, hi bye, okay, give me. Okay, that is a very important gesture that children should use for communication. The other thing is they can choose based on the child's needs, either for sleeping, okay, when the child wants to sleep, Okay, when the child is tired, hungry, the child is touching their tummy, they are hungry. Again, different children will pick up different gestures depending upon how it is being used in their, home environment. And again, one more to ask for help, to request for help, like, my daughter does wash hands, wash mouth. So this is the other thing that she does. So again, the gestures need to be based on functional needs of the child.
I think that just goes to show that different children and different families can use different gestures
Absolutely,
as long
absolutely.
as it is something that is understood across caregivers, and your child is being exposed to the same gesture over and over again, then that's going to be the gesture for that thing or that activity
Yeah, yeah.
in your house. So that makes complete sense. And how early can we start teaching them gestures? 3 months, 6 months, 10 months?
You can start as early as, 5 to 6 months, because the child will not start using gestures immediately. Okay, they will start comprehending them first, understanding them first, and then will come the use of the gestures. The use will come, by 8 months or 9 months as they, gain more motor control, right, over their body, more coordinated movements. So that's when they will start using those gestures. So don't shut down those gestures. Use those gestures as bridges to build expressive communication in your child.
And I'm guessing the way to teach gesture is the same as what you said is for teaching words. You have to model it.
Modeling,
So
yeah, yeah.
when you're doing a certain activity, you pair it with a certain, like for example, the hand washing. Every time you keep pairing it with this gesture, your child will most end up like they will start linking together. That like when I go and
True.
wash my hands, when mummy
Yeah.
says wash hands, and then she does these things together, so it all forms like a schema in their brains.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's like a roadmap, and they are, connecting all the dots and then, coming to the conclusion. So children are really
Amazing,
grasping and learning a lot.
amazing.
Just, to go back, if a child would have been on screen, all this kind of communication is lost. All the opportunities to build this communication is lost. And that is why we see delays that are so significant when the child is exposed to excessive screen time early on.
So, Bisma, can you describe for us what exactly is speech therapy and how does it help late talkers?
So, speech therapy is a therapy designed to help a child comprehend, process, and use language for effective communication. When it comes to toddlers, the therapy is most often play-based, okay, which is understanding the child's needs through a speech and language assessment, finding out the child's interest, and then using those interests to help a child learn language and communication, right? So, we implement a lot of strategies when we are doing therapy, and these strategies are tailor-made to that particular child's needs and requirements. Okay, so only coming to speech therapy is not going to help your child learn to talk. You have to make sure that these strategies are implemented by the parents in their home environment as well. And that is the reason a lot of my sessions are based on guiding the parents. Okay, because parents are going to spend the maximum time with the child. So until and unless the parents don't know what is supposed to be done, how am I supposed to communicate with my child, or what ways can I communicate in so that my child can respond better?
That's very reassuring to know that there is definitely help out there. So would you say that there is no like set number of sessions that every child needs, or is it just different for every child? How many sessions they need? How frequent should they be? How long those sessions are?
So it really depends upon each child's difficulties, because each child we see is showing a different amount of delay. Each child who's coming to us is coming at a different age. Some children come early on, okay, they have a lesser age gap to cover. Some children come later on with delays as well as other significant problems, other significant difficulties. So then we cannot give parents a fixed number of sessions that okay, in 10 sessions I can cure your child's speech delay. No, I cannot do that. It's not practically possible. Okay, but what I do tell parents is whenever you are starting therapy for your child, within the first 3 months, you should be able to see significant changes or improvement in your child. That will be a sign that the therapy is going on in the right track. Okay, because a lot of parents who come to me, they are like, we are doing therapy since a year, but there is no change in the child. So whenever you go for therapy, expect progress and changes to be seen within the first 3 months.
And how frequent are those sessions? Like once a week, twice a week?
Frequency of sessions will also depend on child's needs, but I don't recommend more than twice a week sessions. The reason being that whenever, as a therapist, I'm doing something with the child, I'm implementing a strategy with the child. For me to see a change in the child through that strategy, I at least need a 3 days gap. to see, okay, how have the parents implemented it? What has the change that is being observed? And in my online sessions, I follow up with parents once in 15 days because 15 days gives me a good time window to understand how the parents have implemented the strategies. There are people who say that speech therapy is required every day, but it is definitely not required every day. Twice a week would be sufficient for any child.
Okay, that's amazing to know. And like you mentioned that you do online sessions, so it doesn't mean that was when you need to seek speech therapy. It doesn't mean you only are limited to people or therapists in your vicinity. You can consult with a speech
Yes,
therapist online
yes.
as well.
Definitely, you can consult with a speech therapist online as well. And for young children, the speech therapy, which is done through the online mode, is not directed towards the child, it's directed towards the parents, right? So it's
That
about
makes sense.
guiding the parents on what needs to be done, what is the difficulty the child is facing, how you need to implement the strategies. So it is, more parent guided rather than child directed. When you're doing in-person sessions, the sessions are child-directed and parent guidance. But the online sessions, a young child, you cannot expect a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old to sit in front of the screen and interact with a stranger. Okay, that is not developmentally appropriate.
Absolutely. That makes so much sense, actually. And even the timeline that you mentioned that you need to expect results, see good improvement in the 3 month period. I feel this also sets parents' expectation that they are not hoping for quick results. It's
Yeah,
not an
yeah,
instant noodle that, like, within 2, 3 sessions, now suddenly there'll be a burst of
absolutely
words.
not. Yeah.
You need consistent work because speech development, I'm sure it takes time to come in for those neural connections to form, the repetition. So I've always been curious. So when you say there are certain strategies, right, could you just give like a preview of like maybe one of your like really effective strategies with a child between 2 to 3 years of age, just to get them to speak more, communicate more?
So I think one strategy that I will tell you about is a combination of self-talk. Self-talk as in describing what I'm doing, and then pause. The pause becomes very important over here to see how your child is responding. For example, the child gets this glass to me, the child wants water. So I will say, oh, there's no water, you're thirsty. You want water. Where is the water? So the child points in the kitchen. So we'll say, okay, let's go to the kitchen. Go, go, go. And then I take a pause. So the child says, go, go, go. Okay, the child is repeating after me. I was like, yeah, go in the kitchen. Now we are going to fill water. Let me fill water for you. Much water? More water. I'm giving the child a choice and I'm pausing. So the child will say more. Okay, then I will say, okay, let's put more water. Okay, so it's about describing, what you want your child to do, pausing and waiting to give your child a chance to respond or imitate after you, and then engaging in this to and fro communication. Okay, so this is one of the strategies that I often tell parents to start doing with the child. Many a times, what parents are being told is show them a flashcard with a picture of, water and repeat after the child. This is water, say after me, water. But when you're going to do this, the child is, not likely going to show interest, specifically, especially a 2 to 3-year-old child. But if you use the appropriate strategies in a meaningful situation, in a situation where the child is motivated to get water because they are actually thirsty, okay? So using the appropriate words becomes more meaningful and motivating for the child, right? And then you get better responses from the child. So this is, example that I often give to parents.
Amazing. I love how this is actually a very simple strategy. This is not something where parents feel like it's some rocket science that they have to learn and implement. It is simple ways that whatever you're doing, just describe it to your child. Right? On that line of thought, one thing that I've seen parents do is that they do a lot of baby talk. So they could be talking to their child a lot, but then they're like, "Oh, you bobo, you won't water." And then they're gonna talk in that muffled baby talk kind of sound.
Right.
Would you recommend that? Like, or is it something that doesn't really have an impact on speech?
I wouldn't recommend using unintelligible words, okay, or sounds as in जो तोतला sounds बोलते हैं, ले मेरे baby को क्या चाहिए? So I wouldn't recommend using that. I would recommend using clear words, but at the same time, you can use intonation patterns, okay? Because children are able to, focus better when there is a certain intonation or there is a certain enthusiasm in your voice compared to. So rather than, having that flat or, authoritative tone in your voice, it's better to have, a more happy approach to how you're talking to your child. I think that really makes the child interested and focused and be in tune with us.
Absolutely. You're like पानी चाहिए चलो पानी लेकर आते हैं.
Exactly.
So you are repeating the word. There is enthusiasm in your voice, right? You won't believe, for the first year of my child's life, I couldn't do baby talk. I still don't do baby talk, and I used to feel like I'm a bad mother because I can't do baby talk. All these other people, all the other adults around my child, they are like, speaking to her in such an endearing manner. She's like, oh my Shona, boo, boo, boo. And I was just like, oh my God, like baby talk doesn't come naturally to me. And you wouldn't believe. And I was like, okay, how else do I talk to my child? I want to talk to my child. So I started reading to her when she was 1 month old, because I thought that is my only way of communicating with her, because I am not going to sit here and do goo goo gaga. And when people around me, especially my parents, when they saw me, they were like, I've gone mad. Who reads to a 1 month old baby? I said, that's the only way I talk to my baby. Like, I don't know what else to say, right? And I feel some way that helped, because down the road, like, her speech development was at such a high pace. And then that's when my parents are just like, yeah, I see where it might have helped along the way, just to get her to talk a little bit more. Because, reading was just such an integral part of our day to day activity, because that was my only form of communication for a long time with my child. I'm sure there are people who are listening to this episode, they're probably tuning in because they see a speech delay in their child, and I'm sure they would like to get help as well. So if they wanted to get in touch with you to get support for their child, what's the best way of doing that?
They can definitely email me. My email address, either I can, share it with you, or I can just say it now. It's the speakingmummy@gmail.com. Okay, so they can email me for a consultation. I even have my website, which is the speakingmummy.com. They can, go through my website. My website also has a lot of resources that parents can look through. It has milestones and, concern areas listed that they can go through to understand whether or not their child is having a delay or showing any signs of delay. And you can get in touch to the contact form on the website as well.
Sounds amazing. I'm going to put all those details below in the description, so that when parents, if they are looking for support, then they can go to a professional, a trusted professional like you, and get the right support, instead of just either dismissing speech delays and not doing anything about it, or probably not going about it the right way. Thank you so much, Bisma. We have learned so much from you today.
Thank you so much, Rini, for having me here. And it was a real pleasure talking to you. And I hope this podcast is going to help a lot many parents.